Hi everybody, welcome to the South Australian Sports Show. Delighted that you could join us for the next hour as I welcome Barry Curtin to the show. Baz, how are you?
Fantastic, mate. Absolutely fantastic.
Why would you be?
It's a beautiful week. Everything's happening.
The sun's been shining. It has been a bit
winning.
cold, mate, but everybody's up and about. Let's get to the good news because we've got a lot to get through in the opening and we really haven't got enough time for it.
Yep.
On the good news, Power and the Crows, of course, both winning on the weekend. First time two South Australian teams have won on the weekend since round 6.
Good on them.
We know the Power, 2 points over Gold Coast in an absolute ripper of a game.
That
Crows,
was a good game.
way too good for North Melbourne, 57-point winners. But let's have just a quick touch on your take on the Port Gold Coast game because they came charging at the end. It could have gone either way.
Yep. Always going to.
Inside 50, mate. Were you nervous?
Yes.
Yes.
To be honest, well, I think everybody was. But I mean, that's footy, isn't it?
Yep, that's what you want, though.
That was a great weekend of footy. That was a fantastic weekend of football. I think the crowds were up. I think people are getting the message now about COVID and whatever. They're getting back to the game. I like that. But that game, wow, that was a great game of football. But it was always going to be. You talked about 12th versus 11th.
Yep.
So they're right in there.
The whole...
One had just won their 6 in a row or something like that, and Port had won, I don't know, 5 of 7 or something ridiculous. So it was set up for a great game. It was, and the whole weekend was set up.
The whole weekend was set up.
The whole weekend was set up.
So it was
right. It wasn't just that game.
All right, on the good news, mate, what about this one? Adelaide University. Adrian Howie Howard played his 400th game.
That's amazing.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
And just to make it a little bit more interesting, of course, they got the win.
Yeah.
And then he's chaired off by his teammates. One of his teammates just happens to be the Premier of South Australia, Peter Malinowski. There's a good picture of it in the paper, and I thought, isn't it good? You know, they're all happy, and you go, but it's just great that this guy's reached 400, and then one of the blokes that's cheering him off is actually the Premier. That's one of the great things about sport.
Exactly right. I was going to say that. You know, isn't that a photo that he will keep?
Absolutely.
Forever.
Absolutely.
Look, he would have kept it for his 400th anyway.
Yep.
But this one's now has a little bit of extra spice because it's got
the Premier.
Mally.
Mally in it. I guess he's just playing with his mates.
It's
It's just one of those things. You're playing with your mates. Doesn't matter whether he's the Premier. Doesn't matter whether he's the King.
I couldn't agree more.
I think I
couldn't agree more.
You know, and I've taken this one for granted. A couple of times that I've done it where I'm just driving in. You know how you go past the netball courts there just as you come onto West Terrace, and then the soccer's going and footy. I thought, you know what? I'm just going to get out of my car and walk over. And they're just kids playing. And I just stood there for a minute and I thought, you know what? This is just fantastic.
I do it all the
These little kids are smiling, mate. And the weather was nicer, but I've done it when it's pouring with rain. And the kids are just having a great time. It doesn't matter whether it's soccer, whether it's basketball, whether it's footy, volleyball. It can be any sport. But just to see the young kids, all probably under 12, and the parents being positive and supporting. But the smile on their faces, it's just infectious.
I do it a lot.
It's just
I do
infectious.
it a lot myself.
Sometimes we forget though.
Yeah, I just stop and watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right, mate. Now we've got to cover the SANFL. Of course, Luke Macchiaro's been struck down with COVID. So we're going to cover off on what happened in the SANFL before we get to Millie, of course, that gives us that great sporting news. Adelaide, 59, winners over South Adelaide.
Yeah, surprise.
Yeah, South have been a little bit up and down this year, haven't they?
They've been pretty good touch, South. So that was a bit of a surprise, that one.
Yep, all right. What about this one, mate? Eagles 20-point winners over Westies, but Westies had them in half-time.
Well, I know.
They just can't maintain it for 4 quarters to get that win. And, of course, the Eagles, 2-time premiership team, so they're starting to... Westies are going to get a breakthrough game. They haven't had it yet.
Don't want to be you.
But I think they've just... Well, it's going to be... It's not far off.
Well,
so I think they've just got to persist.
They're in the game. I think they led Adelaide the week before.
The week before, yep.
They were in front at half-time in this one.
Yep.
So they are around the mark. I think their coach would be pretty pleased with our... Wouldn't be overly, smiling, but he'll be able to see something happening because the last couple of games have been pretty good.
I think you're showing the club that we're heading in the right direction. Yes,
Absolutely.
we're losing, but we're going in the right direction. North Adelaide got out of the blocks on an absolute belter in the first quarter against Centrals. Then Centrals fought back in the second quarter to hold North, and it opened up again. So 38-point winners.
Good
North are going pretty well at the moment. So just sitting nicely on top of it.
They're good all over the ground. Yep. North Adelaide, no problem at all about that.
And I think it's that one. They lose the week before to South, and you want to see a response. So they came, they had the break, and they got a good response. Good for them.
Played well.
Glenelg 39-point winners over Port.
Got reminded about that one a couple of times from people that I know yelling out to me, "Baz, how'd you go on the weekend?" And I thought, well, hang on a minute. Oh yes, of course. Our reserves got beaten. That's right. Yeah, good on you. Well played. But look,
Glenelg are playing some good footy at the moment.
Matthew Lobe played for Port Adelaide, for God's sake.
For
God's sake.
I want to ask you just quickly, Luke Sermon, I saw last week signed to play with Norwood. He's been playing with Port Adelaide.
Got him from
Norwood. Yeah, so he's gone back to his own club to play, but it's just an unusual time to be doing it. It's an unusual one to play for a club this late into the season and then go, I'm going to another club. Not Luke specifically, but he's involved in it, so it just made me think, It's an unusual situation, isn't it?
Well, it's an extremely unusual one. That was a bit of a tricky one. I haven't been down at the club to get involved in too much lately, but I must find out about that because he's not a bad player. But I think he was originally from Norwood.
He's originally from Norwood, and talking, I spoke to him during the week, and he said it wasn't. He enjoyed his time with the Magpies.
Yeah.
He just wanted to go back and play with his mates at his club, and he thought that was the best way to enjoy playing footy. It's more that it just happened at this time of the year. It's just strange at the middle of the year. You know, we're getting like rugby where you can start moving around, or the NBA where you start moving around.
Not, Phil.
I just have that fear.
It must be disappointing. It must be a little bit frustrating though. Playing in a team where you've just got top-up players.
Yep.
You know, a few AFL blokes come back, then have some top-ups.
Yep.
You got a different bloke standing next to you every week. It's just...
Well, it doesn't quite have that club feel to
Bingo.
Which is what, you know, if you were Luke and you're going back to your club, that's what you miss, that's where you're going. So you've got no problem. Yeah. Norwood 26-point winners over Sturt. Yeah. Sturt have been a little up and down. Norwood Norwood holding on to that fifth spot. And there's a couple of teams that are trying to push it. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's close.
Absolutely. So Sturt can still get in there, which brings us to this week, because the big game is Sturt versus West. A win for them sees them back into the five. If Norwood lose to the Eagles.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's a big game for both clubs to get back. And Westies, as we said, have been playing some pretty good footy, but we'd expect Sturt to climb over the top. The big one will be Norwood v the Eagles.
The Eagles. No problem.
All right. Okay, Glenelg and Adelaide, Central's on the Panthers, and North v Port. But we need to get over to Millie for the sporting news. Millie, what have you got for us?
Thanks, Phil. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another week in sport. Now, I was amongst the crowd last Sunday night at Adelaide Oval, and my goodness, was I on the edge of my seat as the Power took home a nail-biting 2-point win against the Gold Coast Suns. The game began with a classy snap on the boundary line from Xavier Dersmar before Kane Farrell kicked 2 goals shortly after, creating a 26-point lead for the match. Charlie Dixon kicked his 300th AFL goal to start the third term, but the Suns ensured the match remained within reach until the final siren, staying within a 10-point margin for the rest of the game. Standout performances from Port's Dan Houston and Riley Bonner saw them rack up 30 disposals apiece, whilst Todd Marshall had another flawless week, kicking 4 goals for the game. Port's finals chances could come down to how they go against the Magpies and the Tigers in round 20 and 21. However, they will need to put on a duff display of football as they go against Fremantle this week, who are currently ranked 4th on the AFL ladder. Port took home the win with a final score of 93-91. Now, the Crows are also flying high this week after taking home a 57-point win against North Melbourne at Bloodstone Arena last week. The Crows put on an entertaining display of football, with forward Tex Walker kicking 3 goals of Adelaide's 5 first goals for the quarter, along with a star performance from midfielder Rory Laird, racking up 34 possessions and 11 clearances for the game. It was, however, an injury-filled game for the Crows, with players Tex Walker, Ned McHenry, Darcy Fogarty, Shane McAdam and Will Hamill all ruled out for this week's clash. The Crows do have their toughest round ahead this week as they go up against Melbourne at Adelaide Oval tomorrow night, so let's see what they can do. The Crows took home a final win with a score of 115-58. I think everyone flinched at their TV screens last week when Geelong's Tom Stewart was instantly reported for a high hit on Richmond midfielder Dion Prestia, leaving him severely concussed. Prestia was left face down on the turf after the Cats defender Tom Stewart bypassed the football and collected Prestia with his left arm. The 3-time All-Australian did admit that he's still struggling to come to terms with what he calls a poor act and poor decision on behalf, and is prepared to wear whatever suspension the tribunal determines. The clash between the pair has reignited calls for a send-off rule, as Stewart was able to play for the rest of the game, whilst the Tigers were hindered, losing their most integral midfielder. It is unknown how long Prestia will be out for the season. However, concussion protocols do see him miss at least 2 weeks. The Matildas have suffered a 7-0 loss against Spain on Sunday night, with many fingers pointing towards an understrength side. Although the Matildas displayed a very controlled defence with courageous keeping from Tegan Micah, it was not enough to fend off a dazzling goal from the hosts, signalling a 45-minute onslaught. The Matildas were missing a host of regular starters, including their captains Sam Kerr, Ellie Carpenter, Steph Catley, Kaya Simon and Mary Fowler, attributing to the final score. Australia managed just 4 shots at goal to Spain's 23 in the 90-minute match, with head coach Tony Gustafsson making several substitutions to save what he could. But unfortunately, the offence was no chance for the Spain. Unfortunately, it was too late for the Aussies, with Spain netting 2 more goals in under 10 minutes, solidifying the 7-0 scoreboard. Coach Gustafsson said that he accepts the loss and sees it as an opportunity to improve as they move into the AFF Women's Championships beginning on the 4th of July. Well, FINA has again made headlines this week after banning artistic swimmer Anita Alvarez from further participation in the World Aquatics Championships in Budapest after she fainted during her free solo routine. The US swimmer was rescued by coach Andrea Fuentes after lifeguards took too long to acknowledge that she was in fact sinking to the bottom of the pool. As this was her second time Alvarez has lost consciousness during the competition, the world governing body of water sports opted to ban her from competing further in the tournament. The decision was then made following a meeting between the USA team doctor, representatives from FINA's Sports Medicine Committee and other official bodies. Alvarez is yet to comment on the ban for tonight's women's free final, but is no doubt feeling very disappointed over the ordeal. That is all the news I have for you this week. I'm Millie Walters and we'll be right back for more on the SA Sports Show. And mind you, it's going to be a great one.